was also the oldest son. So of course that comes to the duties of before the family. So he had to leave school quite early. I think he was maybe 10 years old when he left. And eventually he started working for a shoe factory. And Stuart Boots here in Tucson wanted some people to come down to Tucson to make the boots. So his dad had been for work and stuff and heard that. And he was still trying to send money, and now, realizing that now he's not in Mexico, he's having to support himself in Tucson. And so he's living in a house, I think, of maybe 5 guys or something like that. And so he's, trying to get hired on the mines because he knows he needs more money. He's also sending money to Mexico. And he's like going down there. I thought it was like every day. He was going down there frequently. On his last visits, he was to the point of like, I'm just going to have to go back to Mexico because I'm not cutting it here, just doing Stuart Boots. Sure enough, he got hired. And so then, he met Mom, and they found love and got married and all that good stuff. And 11 kids later, we had a big family. And my dad, he ended up working for Magma Mines almost 40 years. I'm not sure if he made 40, he was very close to 40 if he didn't, okay? But during that time, he also succumbed to alcoholism, okay? And I wanted to say that I'm not bringing it up because I want to talk, throw stones at my dad. I just want to show you the beauty of someone's past and someone's future, because you can't write people off. People make mistakes, and some of us are like, great, we're blessed, we surrender ourselves very easily. And there's those of us, right here, we go off-road a little bit, and then we come back, so praise God. So one of the things I wanted to bring up is that, although he succumbed, like he would drink on his days off and stuff like that, he never stopped working to provide for us. I mean, he was able to send all of us to Catholic school. He sent half of the kids to college. He sent half of the kids to college. I mean, we never went without. We weren't rich, but we did not go without. And so that's just what a hard worker my dad was. Even when the mines would go on strike, my dad would go and go back to Stuart Boots and start sewing boots to make sure to bring home money for his kids. And some of my fond memories of my dad is, he would play soccer with us. You've seen some of the photos. Played soccer. I never knew he played baseball. It's the first time I've seen him in years. But he liked baseball. We would take him to baseball games and stuff like that. And so he would try to show us the simpler things in life, okay? So some of the things are like flying a kite. He got us skates, and we would use the carport like it was a race, what was that? Yeah, roller derby. We were rough. We played roller derby. Nobody lost a tooth though. And then also, I have a fond memory of my dad. We all got bikes. He bought like 5 bikes, right? And I'm assuming all Latinos like to celebrate midnight for Christmas. Is that correct? Is that the norm, probably? So this poor man, we're all excited, 5 bikes, right? But you don't think about it as a child. All you know is that there was my dad working all night, putting all 5 bikes together for us. You know what I mean? So we wake up, there are the bikes. My poor dad, he worked so hard. One of the things he used to like to do also was he'd lay on the floor and raise his legs up. And it'd be like a tower. And we had to climb up to the top to his feet. And we tried. And I know sometimes, if any of you have little kids, their toes sometimes get you. They're hurting sometimes. And sometimes we got to deal with our little toes trying to climb up. But overall, my dad, he would do, it seemed like an hour or more. He would do it so each and one of us could take a chance trying to climb up his legs and get the top. We never did. We never made it. Nobody ever made it. As we got older, he ended up getting they got ping pong tables and we'd be playing till 10 o'clock at night. I mean, we just had a blast, but it was a simpler time, things are a lot busier nowadays. And my dad, one of the times I got in a fight with Alex. I don't remember what happened. I just know that I went his shirt, his white t-shirt, right? And it's one of his new ones, right? And it ripped. Mom and Dad were, they were mad. Mom and Dad had just come home from the grocery stores, and they were so angry at me. And my dad was so happy because he brought home candy for us. And so, he punished me. Of course, I couldn't have candy. And I went to, the room. And so that, even then, even though I was punished, he had that much love for us, right? That he's like, come over to me. What happened? And so I told him I didn't mean to tear his shirt, but I was trying to get even. And he's like, well, you wanted candy, but I was so mad still. I'm like, no, I don't want candy. And now that I'm older, I was like, it was probably even hard for him to punish me. You know what I mean? Because I ripped my brother's shirt. And I was also sharing with Mr. Vega the other day that I remember the posadas. We would do the posadas, and my mom would follow in the van. My mother always follows in the van. In the van. I felt sorry for her. Her face and her eyes said everything. She was so stressed out. She didn't want anybody to get run over or anybody to come by us. So, she'd follow us, and my dad would be singing. And of course, we'd be having a good time. Mr. Vega would play the guitar, and sometimes he'd be drinking a little bit. And my dad would hit the high notes, but he would hit the high notes, and you wouldn't hear him, though. That's the thing. He'd go, and then you wouldn't hear him at all. And he's singing, he's singing away. But and the other thing that I remember is that my dad also, at I-19, the separation between north and south on I-19, there used to be like a green area. And we used it as a park. We did not realize that this was like a freeway, right? So my dad would take us over there. I thought that this was another park besides Kennedy Park. And he would take us and pack lunches, and we'd have a picnic out there and everything. I-19 was not as busy as it is now, but at that time it was busy. Nowadays you couldn't do that. He'd also take us bike riding in Kennedy Park, and once again, you turn around and you see my mom, and she's a wreck. She's driving behind us, make sure nobody runs us over. But praise God, he did. It was those beautiful things that we had a lot of fun doing, and it was just some of my memories of Dad. But the other thing I wanted to mention was the mercy and grace of God. When my dad, I'm not sure if I was in junior high, but he was with a friend and he had been drinking, and the friend, I don't know what he struck, but my dad flew out. And he has scars on his face. You'll see some scars on him, And it took him a while to recover. And this is the first time I ever realized how stressed he was because he wasn't bringing any money home for his kids and his family. And his family in Mexico is asking for money. And he's like, I can't even bring money home for my kids. I want to get them money, And thank God he healed and he went back to work. And, he was able to continue to work for that many years. The only reason he retired from Magma is because he wore out his rotator cuff. They had to replace an all metal. And then he really couldn't raise his arm anymore. That's the only thing that my dad probably kept on working, But thank God, he survived. And even though he was all, beat up and everything, he was teasing with the doctor saying, I got in a fight with Rocky. By the time my dad retired, he was able to reduce his alcohol consumption to some occasions. So I would say he stopped drinking. He would still sometimes, especially when he would clean yard, he liked to have his beer. But now he's a lightweight. He had a beer and then he'd pass out. But the thing about him kind of getting away from the alcohol, it allowed doors to open and for him to dig deeper into his faith. My mom was very, I won't say religious because I don't know a better word to say, but, you didn't miss Mass, you didn't, there was just, and I always thought my dad just did those things to appease my mom. But when he retired, I realized that no, my dad was just as faithful. He went to Mass every day. And, after all that, he ended up, he retired and everything. So now he gave himself even more to Christ. And he was registering people to vote. He started making rosaries for retreats and for children receiving sacraments at the church. He started working in prison ministry. He was working with Aurora and Anita Lopez, is that correct? Yeah. And he was working with them, and he did that for years. And one of those pictures you'll see he has an award because he did the prison ministry for years. And he also relieved Mr. Martinez, which is Peter's father, which is Yolanda's husband, my brother-in-law. His dad used to be the altar server, every day. He had 8 o'clock mass every day at St. John's. So when he got too old and too tired to do it, could not do it, my dad took over and started doing it. And then after that, my dad became the taxi. All the people that couldn't drive themselves to mass anymore, my dad was picking them up and taking them to mass. So also with helping at the altar, he was minister. He was opening the chapel wee hours of the morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning. He'd go and open the chapel for St. John's. And the last thing he started doing was counting money on Monday with the Aguilars. And this is, another long-time St. John family. And they would count money, and the reward was school lunch. They got lunch from the cafeteria, and that was the reward for counting money. My dad, he never said, "I love you." It's funny, you tell him, "I love you, Dad," and he'd say, "Thank you." Every time. And we got used to it, actually. It didn't faze us. But when the care workers started taking care of it, they're like, no, you have to say that. You have to say, "I love you." And they're trying to keep it out of habit. And then he would get, I would say, mulo, whatever you want to say, get stubborn. So he'd have that smirk in his face, and say, and they would tell him again, "I love you, Dad." And he'd be like, "Thank you." He'd let me know that they were going to win. I think out of my whole life, he said, "I love you" once to me. But the thing is, even though he didn't say it, he showed it in all his actions, and I knew full well I was loved. One of the things that reminds me of him loving us is that, he's 83 years old, and, he was battling with dementia. He already had dementia before my mother passed. And he ends up thinking he hears one of us crying outside for help. And he starts running out of the house, bolting out of the house. And at that time, Mary Lou, which is Stellan's sister-in-law, was watching it, and she goes, Senor, where are you going? He was running outside because he thought we needed help. Or one of us needed help, And that's just how much he loved us. I mean, he's 83 years old, but he was still going to go out there and put up a fight, whatever was going on. Another time, Alex told him, "Hey, I'm going to visit you on such and such date." My dad got confused, but so when he hung up, he stayed outside waiting for Alex to show up. And just that's how much he loved us, I mean, he loved to see us, he loved the gatherings, and that was nice. I did want to say that, with his dementia, he started seeing things, and some things he would truly see, and some things, we just don't know where it came from. He'd say like, "Hey, there's certain people out there in the fence, and they're by the gate." I'm like, "No, Dad, there's nobody out there." Or I'd be taking him to mass. We'd take him daily to mass still, and he'd be like, "There's some people by my van. You see them?" And I'm like, "Dad, I don't see anybody." But then he'd be like, "Where'd all the kids go?" And I think he was thinking of us when we were little. Where'd all the kids go? They were here. Did they go to mass? Where'd they go? Or there was all this family sleeping on the living room floor. Where'd they go? And there's other things you can say that sometimes kind of spook you out a little bit. You're like, "What, Dad? Where? What? What are you talking about?" But, we had beautiful people taking care of my dad at home. We got to keep him at home for like 5 years. And that was just from everyone contributing time, energy, and also donating money so that we can keep my dad at home. And finally, last year, July, we had to put him in a home. And we prayed about it, because we were worried. It's hard to put your parent at home like that, And ended up being a beautiful facility. They loved my dad just as much. They were good to him. They were also Catholic, so they understood that my dad did all his prayers and his deeds, and they made sure they brought communion to him and everything on Sunday, and he was a part of his community. So I was very happy with all that. But my dad, it was 6 years that my mom passed, and he would still ask for my mom. And in the beginning, he would say stuff like, "Have you seen your mom?" And I was like, "No, I don't answer this, It was not even, a couple months. And like, "Dad, she's with God," I would tell him, And but one time I didn't answer him because he probably realized, like, I didn't know how to respond. And I think he probably thought I was hiding my mom, you know. So he says to me, it's okay if I'm not mad at her. I don't want her to be without because her car was still parked outside and her clothes, you know what I mean? He still saw her stuff there at the house. And that to me just made me realize like how much he loved my mother because he just was more concerned that he didn't want her to go without. He wanted her to come and get her car and not to worry. He wouldn't be angry. And because of that, we had to put pictures of my mother, that she was in the hospital, that she got buried. Because when you would then tell him, Dad, Mom died, I think one time he freaked out with Morgus and thought, oh my God, where was I? Was I leaving my wife? I think he felt like he abandoned my mother. So we had to constantly reassure him, you were there, Dad, you know. And so in the end, when he started getting closer to passing, the last 2 months he started seeing more stuff. And he would say, here comes, ahí viene la muerte, he said. And he saw death basically come in. And the lady that slept right next to his room was sick. And she passed within like 3 minutes after he said that. So it kind of spooked the staff a little bit. But he would say, there's my son, Daniel, you see my son, Daniel? And he would see Daniel, and he would say, my 4 children are here to see me. And he goes, he would always say, there's my son, Daniel. And ended up being that he would say, they want me to go with him then, but I don't want to go yet. I don't want to go. He would always say, so the ladies, they didn't know who Daniel was, and they didn't know who Angela was, or certain people. And so they said, well, if you don't want to go, tell him to go away. And so he would try to get all scary and like, yeah, like, I don't want to go. But he would see visions of his kids coming to tell him, Dad, come with us. You know, the day that he died, they just said that he was sick and was vomiting. So they segregated him so he wouldn't get any other residents sick. And he didn't get back till at nighttime, and then they called us and said, I think he needs to go to the ER. You know, but the day that he got sick and they segregated him, you know, they come in and check on him, and they saw him crying. And you know, and like I said, they're all very beautiful to him. They love him like a father, and they go all night. I forget the cariños, but something like, oh my viejito, what's wrong? What's the matter? And he's like, who's going to take care of my children? That was the last thing he was thinking of. And the ladies, you know, they comfort him because, you know, we had a picture of us when their 50 years anniversary, and we're all older. We're a lot older. And so she goes, your kids are grown up. Your kids have grandkids now. You don't have to worry. Your kids are fine. And I think that, I'm assuming he knew he was going to go. And by that night, when he was so sick, I told Josie, you know, they called us and told us, and I told Josie, let me go pick up Dad because I don't want him to be afraid and alone in the ambulance. But when I got there, he was too sick, too weak to get in my car. So we called the ambulance, and thank God, being that they were a good home, I asked them for holy water, and they gave me holy water, and I blessed him, and I'm telling him, Dad, you're going to go. They wouldn't let me in the ambulance. I'm like, he's like, it'd be better if you just take your own car. I should have complained. You know, I'm like, okay, fine. But I blessed him, and I said, Dad, I'm going to meet you. I'm going to meet you at the hospital. And I'm calling him, talking to him, but he's looking at this beautiful young night worker, right? He's looking at her, because, you know, to him, we're still young, right? So I tell Dad, you know, it's like 30 years difference between you and me. You're 90, I'm 60, you know? But he's looking at her, and I'm like trying to get around the stretcher. I'm like, Dad! Until he finally sees me, I say, I've been at the hospital for you, you know? He sometimes don't remember my name, but he always knew I was family, you know? And sometimes, the funny thing is, one time he says, oh, my wife. Told me that I was his wife. You know, I'm like, okay, I don't know, Dad, but okay. But he never forgot you were family. He did not remember your name. That's what it was. But anyway, he couldn't, you know, every time my dad got sick, it's like he got really bad. Like he'd be disabled, couldn't walk, couldn't move. But most of all, he just couldn't even throw up his own vomit. It's like, Dad, we repeated to him, Dad, throw it up, throw it up. And he'd be holding on to it. Like, and I finally got him, and it's like dead weight. I had to pick him up, put him over, and he finally let it go. But you can see why he ended up getting pneumonia from that, because he inhaled his vomit. So he ended up passing. He got pneumonia, and that is how he passed. So he got in there probably by 9 o'clock or something like that, and by 6:30 my dad passed. But most of all, I want to thank everybody that's here, especially everyone that's come to every one of our funerals, because we've had several. But we do really, really appreciate it. We know some of you are working and are tired, but we do appreciate you sacrificing to come here and pray for our Father and send him off in peace. God bless you.